Welcome, my brothers and welcome, my brothers. Huge news for the skooma sniffers. I don't know how, else to say this without sounding a little bit dramatic, but I think we're officially past the point where it's just a rumor problem. Because yesterday I was like, hey, some weird red stuff in the sky near the border. And today it's like, well, there's a literal hole to hell outside of Kvatch, and people are pretending that it's still just a local issue. And I need everyone to understand how just insane that is. We're not talking about some bandits, we're not talking about, the usual cult activity. We're not even talking about the usual Daedra sighting here and there, where someone swears they saw a scamp and it turns out just to be a drunk war or a merchant with a torch. No, these are actual gates, big ones, permanently looking into, just on fire, screaming sometimes, and they are opening at places that, are very much still on the map. And here's how it all started. Apparently someone somewhere noticed a structure that wasn't there before, black stone with sharp angles, looking all aggressive, not supposed to have even existed in the first place. Sky above turns red, like it's trying to warn you, ground starts cracking, air smells like iron and burned hair, the usual stuff. But instead of everyone just immediately panicking, the response is just debating, People are standing around, arguing whether it's technically Daedric or if it might just be some previously undocumented Aelith nonsense, which is just wild to me, because while they're having that discussion, creatures are actively crawling out of it. Like, you can hear them, dude. This isn't subtle at all. The reports are all over the place right now, which honestly makes it worse. One gate near Kvatch, another sighting closer to Brahma, rumors of something opening near Nibenya. No central authority statement, no clear timeline, just, messages running back and forth, still pretending that this is somehow manageable. And what really gets me here is how calm some people are trying to be about it. You'll hear stuff like, well, it's only one gate, or, the Legion will handle it. Or my personal favorite, Daedric invasions have happened before, Okay, but when? And, where? And did they involve all this coordinated series of portal opening across the heart of the Empire? Because this doesn't sound like isolated incidents to me, this feels organized. And this should probably scare you. But about the gates themselves for a second, because these descriptions are getting way too consistent for my comfort. They're not random tiers anymore, they're structured, built, and designed. They're anchored. In a way, whatever is happening here, someone planned for it to stay, someone planned for it to be used, which means someone on the other side is expected to be here for a little bit. They're trying to see, trying to settle, trying to see, scouting ahead, all that nonsense. And if you've ever read anything about Oblivion, it's not great. Oblivion is not a place you visit accidentally. It's not just a weekend trip. It's just, well, an environment that hates you almost on a personal level, if you ask me. The fact that it's spilling into Mundus like this is not a coincidence, it's straight up an invasion. And we're still treating it like some sort of weird little weather event that happens naturally. What's even more unsettling to me is just how fast things are escalating. First sightings were weird lights and sounds, the scouts didn't come back, entire areas were silent. And now we're getting like refugees who are not exaggerating. They're like actually in a panic mode and just quietly describing creatures made of fire, steel, and walking through towns like they own the place. The kind of calm doesn't come from imagination, it just exactly comes from shock. And if you listen closely to them, you'll notice something else. Everyone who actually sees a gate up close is saying the same thing. That the longer it stays open, the worse it feels, to be just kind of near it. Like the world itself is thinning, like reality is sleepy, I guess is the better word. Which is a deeply upsetting thing to hear from multiple unrelated witnesses. But normally at this point someone would step in and say, don't worry, the Empire has protocols for this type of stuff. But I would love to know what those are, because as far as anyone can tell right now, the response so far has been delayed. Troop movement, vague orders, and a lot of official refusing to use the word crises, am I right? Which historically is sort of a bad sign. But there's also this very small issue of what I hear around, you know, that the Emperor might be dead. Which, maybe should be mentioned in these sort of discussions a bit more. Because yeah, sure, Daedric portals opening across the land, but we're also dealing with, you know, succession problems, political uncertainty. How will we handle this? What will be the economical state of the Empire after this? How will this affect our economy? I don't want to sound conspiratorial, but come on, man, let's be real for a moment. If you were a Daedric prince and you wanted to invade, this is exactly when you do it. No emperor, fragmented authority, borders were already tense, and faith in the institution is, you know, shaky at best. And now suddenly there are literal gates to hell opening up and nobody seems to be in charge of deciding what to do about it. To me, it is just an opportunity, and whoever is behind this is absolutely aware of that. What's wild is how quickly people are trying to just be normal about these kind of things. You're already hearing things like, oh, just avoid the gates, stick to the roads, the Legion will push them back eventually, and it's temporarily inconvenient. It's not some existential threat that might kill you and your whole family. I heard someone in Cyrodiil the other day say like, well, at least it's not everywhere. And that sentence is doing way too much emotional labor, if you ask me, because the gates are spreading slowly, sure, but consistently. And the more that open, the more it starts to feel like it's the land itself under siege rather than just us as people. You don't need to be a scholar to see these things. And the part that nobody wants to talk about yet is that the longer the gates stay open, the more likely it is, you know, that they're not gonna be closed anytime soon. These aren't just doors you can just shut, you know? They're anchoring to something, fueled by something, protected by, well, something. Which means at some point, someone is probably going to have to go into Oblivion and deal with whatever is holding it open. And I don't know if you've noticed, but we're not exactly prepared for such a thing. We can barely agree on whether this coordinated invasion or a series of isolated breaches, and we're supposed to send people into a plane of existence that actively wants to hunt the dead. It's optimistic. There's also this other angle to all of this. You have the whole, you know, conspiracy theory side, which, you know, I don't want to be labeled as one, but I think it's pretty, getting pretty crisis-y at this moment. But there's also the cult angle to all of this, which is being treated way too casually. Because yes, there are cultists, always were, always will be, but people who see this as divine will or liberation or some deeply misunderstood cleansing, and they're rather enthusiastic about all of this. They're talking about density and change at the end of a false god, and it's all very poetic, you know, until you remember that they're actively helping to open gates, which feels like something we should maybe not do. I know that might be controversial in this day and age of the Empire, but you know, I don't want to open hell up to us. But yes, it feels like something we should be worried about, but instead it's being dismissed as some fringe lunatism, and which is funny, because fringe lunatics don't usually have access to interplanetary portals. I think we're still in the very early phases of this. It doesn't feel like it's the peak yet. It feels like the part where people will later refer to as, you know, before it got really bad. And that, you know, that quiet escalation, it's the testing phase of some kind. And that, if that's true, you know, then we're seeing something just doing its opening moves, which means more gates, bigger gates, stronger forces, and way less warnings at the end of the day. But at that point, it won't matter how calm everyone was at the start, you know. So yeah, I think the Oblivion situation, not crisis, is kind of crazy right now, and I'm trying not to be chaotic about it, not because it's so loud or dramatic or immediately overwhelming, but because it's happening so slowly that people think they'll have time. And historically, you know, that's when most things go wrong. So if you're near a gate, maybe don't go check it out. If you hear someone say like, oh, this will pass, don't believe them necessarily. And if anyone tells you that it isn't a big deal yet, that they are either lying or they haven't looked up at the sky recently, because something is coming through those gates. And you know, it doesn't look like it plans to leave all quietly.